Yeah, it is now. Okay. I think we can start.
Dr. Sarbani, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but I think
Yeah, the record is started. Then you can also start from there, the presentations.
I need to upload my slide now.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Now, see, can you all see my slide?
It's still coming. Yeah, we can see now.
Okay. Now, today's topic is mitigation. Okay. So, I believe in my past classes also, I have done the mitigation part with all of you. And today it is not only a repetition or a boring class session of the same, but we will be getting some new ideas on the mitigation part. Now, what is mitigation? What we have learned, and why mitigation is necessary. Anybody, please come up, or then I have to. Else, I will go through. What is mitigation?
Ma,
Yes.
the mitigation is means how to prevent disaster from how to minimize or prevent from occurring disaster
Yeah, it is the these
or
mitigation.
always of taking measures to prevent disasters.
Yes, mitigation are the efforts which we take, which we adapt, means the community adapts in order to minimize the effects of any disaster. Okay, so it is a very important aspect, and it is required for a well prepared, for drafting a very well versed preparedness plan. Okay. So mitigation includes efforts or measures taken to reduce the adverse effects of disaster on people, livestock, and physical structures. Because we cannot only deal with human life, but we have to equally look into the livestock and the infrastructural structures as well. And the important part of implementing any mitigation program is understanding of the nature of threat. What type of threat the community is going to face, means whether it is in the flood prone area, or in the earthquake prone area, or um, it is in the vicinity of coastal areas, so that threat of tsunamis or cyclones are there, or landslides or avalanche, whatever be the threat, the community has to deal with the mitigation part accordingly. In order to lessen the risk associated with disasters, mitigation involves a combination of measures, including scientific analysis of the risk assessment. That I always mention in my previous classes also. Because what is the scientific analysis? Even in the last class, last topic was my in scientific analysis, means creation of GIS maps, meteorological forecasting from meteorological department. These are inputs from scientific backgrounds, so that we can have a detailed uh, hazard map, and the forecasting as well, followed by early morning, so that we can take necessary mitigation measures on time. And on the basis of the hazard map, we can even draw the risk assessment, HVRA, which I detailed, hazard risk vulnerability assessment, that also we can do. Now, whatever mitigation measures we take, it has to be under the bylaws of administration and the political scenarios as well, because unless and until we take these two aspects in loop, we cannot apply these measures in reality, for the benefit of the community. Now, coming to the importance. Here also, this is not a new term, Yokohama. This is always uttered by me. It was already uttered by me in my last class. Yokohama strategy. It is a very important strategy which was declared in the International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction in May 1994, and under this, it is always better to prepare a community to deal with the disaster efficiently and uh, not to suffer the calamity. Okay, means we will be according to this strategy, we have to be more efficient to the uh, mitigation part, preparedness part, prevention part than the response part. Okay, you remember this Yokohama strategy? Even in that class also I mentioned that it's a very important thing and we have to abide by these things. And uh, the elements which are stated here, it was an inter alia stress that in disaster prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and relief are four elements which we all know the components of disaster management, which contribute to and gain from the implementation of or the sustainable development policies. Now, the thing is that these are all closely interrelated. So the nation should incorporate them in their development plans whenever you are making anything. Suppose you are constructing a dam on the river. What you have to calculate? Why the firstly, where will you construct the dam? Why will you construct the dam? How much effect it is having on the inhabitants in the near proximity? Uh, what will be its catchment area? What source of livelihood this dam can provide to the uh, people, local people? So this will count upon the economic sustainability of the inhabitants. So these are all looked upon while in doing any development while while preparing any development plans, so that uh, enough care from every point of view, from disaster point of view, from socio-economic point of view, from a livelihood point of view, from uh, environment point of view, these points are taken care of. Okay. Now, development planning and disaster mitigation. We all know, and we have started earlier also, we have to opt for different mitigation plan for various uh, disasters. Like we won't be opting mitigation programs which are typically meant uh, for earthquake disasters. There are separate things. For drought, it is different. For earthquake, it is different. For flood, it is different, and we have to opt them depending upon the uh, area it is prone to. The threat the area is prone to. Now, drought mitigation due to the erratic. Why do drought occurs? Why do drought occur? Anyone?
Pardon, pardon me, doctor.
Can you come again?
Yes.
The question.
I'm begging your pardon.
Why do drought occur? Yes, Mohammed Tijani. Muhammad Musa. Okay. Review. Say, don't raise your hand like this. Either you say or you let me move. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, say.
Drought happens
Hello.
when there is no rainfall in an
I
area.
think
Hello. Can I continue?
Who will be answering?
Okay.
Ma,
Tijani, are you going to answer?
I think
Yeah.
I think drought
Joan?
occurs when there is when the rainfall has reduced, or when there is no rainfall at all in a region for a particular period of time,
Hmm.
and then yeah, briefly that.
Yeah. Okay.
ma, let me say something about this drought.
Yes, Tombe.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to contribute. I went out. Okay. Issues of drought normally happens as a result of so many factors. One of the factor could be issues of this global warming. It can be as one of the factor. And the second one, it could be activities, human-related activities that causes drought. And
Human-related activities
and the
cause
last one
drought. I don't.
is hello?
I don't know about what type of human-related activity causes drought. I don't have any idea. Please let me know.
Okay, yeah. These anthropogenic related activities can be uh, cutting down of trees. It is one of the factors that can cause also drought. Also, destructions of, let me say, the entire forest. As a result of that, drought can happen thereafter. But in most cases, it happens in a long period of.
Mainly drought happens because of two reasons. One is very low rainfall. No, not two, three reasons are there. One is very low rainfall. Number two, climatic change. What Tobe said, yes, it is. Right. Joan, you said about low rainfall. Yes, it is right. Third point is lowering of aquifer. Okay, groundwater level. Lowering of groundwater level. So these are the three things, three
Okay.
reasons behind drought. Now, due to the erratic behavior of monsoons, both low and medium rainfall
Ma,
regions are vulnerable to
ma,
periodic floods. Yes, Bombay.
ma, I have a question
Yahaya?
now.
Yes, Yahaya.
Ma, on the issue of this drought,
Yes.
our side in our area, Jigawa State,
Mm,
Nigeria,
mm,
we are very close to Niger Republic.
mm,
So the issue of this drought, we experience this desert encouragement to an area.
mm.
So, as you said, cutting down of trees.
Yeah.
So, on the process of this sun, how can I say, is it sand dunes or the process of wind blowing,
Mm.
wind blowing from desert area to our area?
Mm.
I think this is another factor that contribute drought, isn't it? Wind blowing.
That's why I told you, na, exposure, maximum exposure means you are vacating the land, and it is it is making the surface area exposed to sun and warming. So this also is lowering the uh, groundwater level also. So from
Okay.
scorching sun, global warming, climate change, okay, deforestation, lowering of groundwater level, and minimum or no rainfall. These are the reasons behind drought. Okay.
O- okay.
Okay. Now, what will be the mitigation if we are if deforestation is going on? So the first mitigation is afforestation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, before we move forward, I have a similar scenario here in our intervention. I would also like you to support us as well. I need to get some idea.
Yes, teacher.
Uh, yes, in our country currently, I work in one of the regions. It is called Greater Equatoria Region, and
Okay.
we have interventions toward the border of Ethiopia. Last year, we happens to have an emergency response in one of the area called GA, and in these particular locations, due to the conflict and drought related issues that happen among this community,
Hmm.
toward the end of the year, normally the entire population they migrate to a nearby location. Uh, they even some move further away from where they are as a result of this drought. And
Hmm.
one of the interventions that we had activity in those locations are we actually responded in health related activities. We responded in FSL, agricultural related activity, so
Hmm.
that these people can have a coping mechanism to resist this issue of drought. And we also had, we attempted to strike, interventions in waste-related activity where we failed to drill the water in these locations. Most of the geological findings that the waste department gave us is that the water level in this location it is down,
Yes.
and now we really have challenge
Hmm.
because these people around 70 to 80% of the population, as I talk now, they have so far migrated because
Hmm.
there is no complete water in that location.
Hmm.
And as a result of this, I don't know how will you advise us in this aspect.
Now, the only thing is that we have to look for sustainable sources we can construct. We can divert actually water to that particular area so that the is uh, uh, water level is raised, and this can be done through percolation tanks or rainwater harvesting, uh, construction of recharging shafts, because it is necessary to feed the ground with water level, and that can only rise its level. The groundwater level can rise in that way only. So these are the techniques the hydrogeologists can opt so that aquifer is again filled with water.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we can move forward.
Okay. Mitigation measures for drought include afforestation, construction of reservoirs, take dams, alternate cropping patterns, uh, appropriate livestock management practices, etc. So these are the mitigation measures for drought. For earthquake, as we all know, we have to look for structured engineered structure and engineered constructions. Uh, Retrofitting the existing buildings and constructing seismic resistance for uh, seismic proof buildings infrastructures, when we are going for new constructions. Flood mitigation, we all know the simplest thing is to give barrier to this uh, upland when where flood is occurring. Means flood continue to be a menace. We all know, and embankments have also given rise to problem of drainage, with a heavy rainfall leading to waterlogging in areas outside the embankment. So this is another reason. This point is never highlighted. We always speak for construction of embankments, but whenever there is a huge rainfall and waterlogging incidents happen in the other side of the embankment, which gives rise to flooding as well. So forecasting by meteorological department and providing early warning can give instantaneous help for evacuation of communities residing particularly in low-lying areas and also for along the riverside. And construction of dams and barrages are another thing which can resist the river flow. Now, disaster mitigation guiding principles. Whatever mitigation plan we are opting, we have to follow by certain SOPs. We know what are SOPs. Yeah, last class we have read about SOPs. So what are these? There are certain principles of disaster mitigation, which includes. Tommy, you can go through. We all know these points. So just going through
Yeah.
these points can clear them, clear all of you. These are all repetitions.
Of this repeated.
No, Yahaya, off your speaker. Yahaya, off your speaker. You are disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are certain principles of disaster mitigation. These include creating awareness of risk at community level, promoting local actions through community participation to reduce such risk, incorporating mitigation measures in the national and regional development plans, land use, planning proposals, and in
Land
project
use
design.
land use planning proposals like this. Whenever there is a mountainous area, we would suggest for terrace farming. We would not go for individual plain farming. Okay, we will be uh, uh, and for grazing pattern also, livestock grazing pattern. There also we will be suggesting. Okay, which area the animals should be taken for grazing and all this thing, and up to what level they can graze, and then when we can do for shifting, we can shift them. Shifting agriculture is another thing which is usually practiced in the mountainous areas. These all actually resist the soil to undergo for landslides and all. Means anchoring, so that anchoring of soil is maintained and it doesn't become loose enough to undergo events like landslides. Okay. Now, fourth point, assisting decision makers. Tombe?
Yes, yeah, land use planning proposal and in project design and appraisal in hazard-prone areas.
Yeah.
The fourth one, assisting decision makers, politicians, and administrators to understand the nature and extent of various risks faced by communities and assessing the economic effects of natural disasters on agriculture, commerce, and industry.
Acha, wait
The,
one second. Wait one second.
yeah,
Who are the decision makers? The politicians or the administrators? Okay. Now, basically the administrators, and who impose them? The politicians. Okay. Now the thing is that in an earthquake-prone area, would you? I'm giving you the same example which I shared last time. Would you agree with the? Will the community agree for construction of a skylight or multi-story building in an earthquake-prone area?
Yes, the community can agree. On my personal experience, they can agree when all the measures that are put are also well explained to them.
A community which might face which is in the earthquake zone area will agree for a skyrise. You want to say this, Tombe?
Yes,
No, dear. Will never agree for a skyrise in a area where there are where it is earthquake prone. This is because in earthquake prone areas, skyrise buildings are fragile enough, and collapsing of a skyrise building will cause maximum number of injuries, not only to the inhabitants of that multi-story building, but also to the people who are living in the surroundings. Yes, Adamu, want to add on this? Instead, the community would seek uh, no. Instead, the community will suggest that whatever building you are constructing, get it earthquake resilient, so that no harm, if even the area uh, is if even earthquake strikes that area, the building doesn't collapse and the community is not affected. Yes, Adamu, you want to add on this or something? You want to say? Adamu, you want to say something?
he looks.
His
He
network
looks
is
like
bad. Is
No,
bad.
ma, it was
Yeah.
a mistake. No, no,
Okay,
no, ma.
okay.
I am a passive participant today, ma.
Okay, okay, okay. Acha. Now, we assisting decision makers to understand the nature and extent of various risks faced by communities and assessing the economic effects of natural disasters on agriculture, commerce, and industry. Whatever project the administrators are taking, decision makers are taking for that particular community, it has to be environment resilient and disaster resilient, demonstrating ways and means to reduce those risks within the limits of national, regional, and socio-economic conditions through proper decision making and planning. This, which I explained just now, okay, we have to take each and every point into consideration whether to construct before construction of any infrastructures. Okay. Uh,
yes. Before we move forward,
mhm.
yeah, Doctor, you mentioned something very important on this land use, the
Yeah.
livestock grazing patterns.
Yes.
Yeah, in our experience in our country here,
Yes.
this is one of the biggest challenge we have.
Yes.
And in our country, the country has around 12 million population of livestock,
Hmm.
and out of these 12 million, uh, the country is only realizing this importance of this livestock on a traditional aspect.
Hmm.
But when it comes to its economic value,
Hmm.
our people are really not utilizing. They are doing it. They are not doing really much well. And I just wanted to relate to the land use. Uh, of just the last 3 years, the country actually also faced conflict when it comes to issues of land use. There are particular communities that they do crosses to, like, we have a grazing, let me say, the livestock systems here. We have there are people that are agro-pastoralists. There are those that they are typically agrarians. Those that are pastoralists, they sometimes tend to cross to areas where the community that are typically they are dependent on agriculture, crop only. It also brought us here a lot of conflict, and this aspect of the grazing pattern, I think it is really very important.
Very important.
If yeah, it is very, very important. If our people start to adopt this, it will solve so many many issues. One is land-related issues, and that emerge to be as a conflict. And then the second is it will enable the country, at least, when you practice this swifting system, livestock grazing pattern system, you can easily adopt some other related mechanisms that can make the livestock itself have economic value, like issues to do with the value chain addition, like in milk, other related byproducts. That one can easily be realized. But as of now, it is still yet underdeveloped in our country. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please.
As Tombe was stated that we here in Nigeria, especially the northern part, that is the northwest and northeast region, we are facing a lot of challenges, especially the herders and the farmers. So like this time around is a dry season. It's a dry season. It's dry season weather. So most of the farmers, they pack all their crops and all the farming farm product. They pack it to their homes. But there is some farmers who are using this dry season farming. So when the herders come out, they used to come and just put their cow and goat and other things into the farm. They just used to destroy all the farms. So this always it bring conflicts between the farmers and the herders.
Yes.
But yet government did not take any action. It used to happen every year. Every year it used to happen, but yet government does not take any action. The problem is that the farmers, the herders, does not have a grazing land where they will go and put their herds to graze. That is the main challenge that we are facing in this our area, northeast and northwest part of Nigeria. Thank you.
My last chapter will be conflict disaster mitigation. So there I will be detailing this. Yes, Adamo?
I want to add a little bit on what of my brother said about these herders and the farmers. You see, there is a policy, government enacted a policy last 2 years that all these herders should start ranching. But this policy was not supported by a technical plan of implementation, in the sense that government did not provide any grant, no any specific land that was allocated to these herders to start their ranching, and no any technical advice committee that was put on place to facilitate the implementation of that policy. And that is aggravating the situation. So from your own end, Ma, what will you advise us as a student from Nigeria? How can we intervene in such situation? Policies are there on ground, but proper implementation is the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, first thing I must say listening to all three of you. I am so proud that you people are so much aware of these things around you, what is happening, and you are also aware of the policies of the government which they have introduced. But introducing a policy and implementation of a policy are totally different thing, and it needs ground practice. So, what I would suggest, you can take help of social media over here, because if any one of you are into government service, and if you have this opportunity to seek or to give suggestions to the higher authorities, then you can opt this. Else, I would request all of you to draw attention of media, because today media is the very strongest part which can uh, which can focus, which can show this entire thing to the entire nation, both uh, with its audio and visual effects. And this is the easiest way to draw attention of the government, so that the implementation, once the policy is there, formulation of policy is very much important. Once um, the attention of these policymakers are drawn, they will start implementing that, because harding is a very important livelihood, apart from agriculture. So, uh, maintaining livestock to the best of their health, and getting byproducts and selling them, it will not only rise the GDP of the continent, not only give money to the or source of income to the farmers, the herders, but it will also increase the GDP of the nation. So it is always better, for a better uh, prospect. It is better to let government see what you have done, that this conflict has taken place, and it is concluding with no, it is ending up with no conclusion. So this is from my end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. We take this advice with all kind of seriousness.
Because this is a very emerging issue, Yes, Annie?
Good afternoon, colleagues here in Nigeria. So, my just suggestion about what they can say. So, I think there is community awareness. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I think there
We
is
are hearing
community.
you.
Yeah, there is a community awareness about the herders here in Nigeria. Majority of them they have lack of knowledge. Whenever a farmer farming his farm along the side, so those herders intentionally they used to carry their animal into some farmers areas. Especially my colleague mentioning there right now, he said that some they are doing irrigation farming. I think there is Adamu Kraba. So people they are doing irrigation farming, it's not during the time they are supposed to do farming, but after the rainy season they do another irrigation farming. But I think if there is community awareness, even other Ministry of Agriculture or some agencies supported by the national, I think it will help those farmers to know that this is a specific area for grazing their animals. And this is another place where farmers will supposed to also go carry their animals. Well, this is place is restricted for them to carry their animals for their grazing. So that is my suggestion on this. Because
No,
I
I
think to
think this is a controversy, because the herders are already aware of the thing, of the policy, and even though the agriculture is all as well, but the agriculture is, the farmers are not allowing these herders to graze upon their agricultural field or the waste materials. So it is the upper hand which they are taking on the hurdles. So unless until you draw attention of the policy proposals, uh, it won't actually give in any result of this conflict. It is a conflict basically because between the farmers and the herders. So they are already aware. They are aware of the policy. They are aware of the area. They are aware of the of whatever is going on.
Yes, go ahead, doctor.
Yeah. So now guiding efforts. Okay. Several basic principles based on past experience can guide mitigation efforts. Now, according to Fernando, who is Fernando, he is a revolutionarist and he had certain research on disaster mitigation aspect. So, what he says, pre-disaster mitigation helps ensure fast recovery of a community from economic and other impacts of disaster. This we all know. We have discussed all these points. So whatever experience a community is facing, they will remember that, and as per that experience, they will be incorporating the points incorporating the points in the disaster preparedness plan, so that next time, whenever that particular area is threatened by that particular disaster, these crises are not repeated. Hazard reduction measures should take into account the various hazards faced by the community, including technological hazards. So, whatever hazard the community has faced, whether it is waterlogging, whether it is vector-borne disease, whether it is waterborne diseases, whether it is sexual exploitation of the vulnerable group, of the women or girl child, or whether uh, it is any problem with the shelter, whether it is any problem, whether problem of migration was there, whether it was problem of with the livestock, feeding the livestock or sheltering them, or whether uh, whatever be the hazard, uh, whatever the community has faced, and these are to be chalked out, and uh, while drafting the preparedness plan or the mitigation measures, when opting the mitigation measures, these all are to be taken into account. Potential mitigation measures should be evaluated for cost benefit and should be consistent with the desires and priorities of the affected community, both those who will play and who will pay and those who will be benefited. Yes, the thing is that suppose you are evacuating a suppose an area mm, which is say flood prone. Okay, now La, when the community faced the flood incidents, they have seen certain area was under the water. Part of that area was underwater, and the elevated part was free of this effect. Now, uh, when opting mitigation measures, the policymakers said entire flood area is to be shifted. Now, if you are shifting the entire area, it will incur enough cost, and it is always advisable to shift that particular area which was drowned by flood water to the elevated part rather than shifting the entire catchment area to some other area. What do you suggest? This is actually in practice, but if you are policymakers, what will you do? That you say. That you answer me.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I can say so. One scenario that happened in our area here. We used
Yes.
to. There is some part of one community that used to experience a flood every year. Every
Hmm.
year they used to experience flood.
Hmm.
So in the course of that, government decide that it
Hmm.
will just find a good area, flat land, to build the house for them.
Hmm.
They just build house, many house that is over than the household of that community.
Hmm.
After government finish everything there, they just put a committee to go and ask each and every household. You just come and show him his own house where the government built.
Hmm.
So some of the senior citizen, that is the elderly, they will
Hmm.
just start denying that, saying that they will not leave this area of land because they are there since even their forefathers
Hmm.
they were born there. So they will not leave that community. So in this case of in this scenario, you see that government did their its own parts,
Hmm.
but the problem is the community. The community deny to leave
Huh.
that area to go to the safer area. So most of sometimes government will do its own part, but the problem is the people of the community. They just pick in one area, say that they will not live there because their forefathers are living there. So even the community too, they have their own problem in during the disaster problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. But this is a totally different scenario. Which I was talking about is something different. What I wanted to hear. See, suppose a flood-prone area. Okay. Now, part of that area will be swayed away by water. Our experiences says, but government said no. I will work for the entire area. Is this suggestible, or you as a policymaker or a member of that team would suggest government or the policymaker head to look into the threatened part of that particular area and uh, exercise on that? What will be your suggestion? First to answer to this question. Anyone?
Okay. Okay. I think let me respond to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Your question actually has it is actually exactly what has happened in our country last year. Uh, we have one of our regions last year. It was flooded, and the flood came. In that area we have areas which it is gazetted. It is termed to be a shoot area, and yeah, government due to the issues of the flooding. The community were actually suffering. There are a lot of chaos in the area, and government decided to come up with the measures of clearing the shoot areas. And shoot areas always, if you looked at the shoot areas, it has its importance. And when the countrymen heard of it, people really criticize that aspect, that idea of the government of coming with an idea that the shoot area need to be cleared so that it paves ways for the water to go. And the issue was the government, our government, the national government, did not come with a policy doing a very wide consultative measures. They just imposed that on the people. That is why the idea was totally rejected, countrywide. If they were like to have come up with an idea of doing a very consultative, let me say, consulting the community and all these processes, it was like it has gone to the parliament, people agreed, all the faith groups are involved, the community members are involved, and the technocrats groups are involved. I think the idea, people will have bought that idea. But also the debate that the issue that brought the debate is the importance of the suit areas. They say no, this one cannot be cleared. The only thing that can be done is that the flooded areas, they have to open channels that goes to the suit area, and then the water can go. It really brought a lot of debate, which totally people rejected it. And up to now, I think there is still the government, at the end, they form a technical committee to study this context, and then thereafter action can be taken forward. I think with this, I think I've answered your question.
Yes, Tommy, thank you so much. It was so clear from you. Yes, whenever we are doing for the benefit of the community. This concept, this objective must be clear. So, if the community is not agreed with our proposal, the government has no right to pass this type of policies, first of all. Secondly, why did the Tombe this in this suitcase, whatever you just described now, what was the interest of the community? It was sorry, not the community, interest of the government. It was just about money making. Okay, it was because the community, they knew how to get rid of this disaster situation. They have suggested that channels, cutting down channels, so that waterlogging is waterlogging can be avoided, will solve the problem. This was the simplest proposal of the community, which would have incurred much less money than this proposal which government actually was imposing to the community. And for that reason, the community did not answer to this. Government was here, uh, they were just looking into the money making aspect, and community was looking into this in a practical point of view, that they are settled since years, since generations in that particular area, and the simple channeling of that particular area would have solved the problem. So, without opting this simplest policy, why the government is opting for a reverse and difficult one. And this was the cause of this conflict, and which has not led to the implementation of the policy, and has given rise to a complex complex conclusion to this matter. So it is always suggested, for whom you are paying for the community, for whom you are taking this policy, you are taking uh, this work, you are doing this for the community, for the betterment of the community. If the community is not agreed with you, with your proposal, with whatever you are wanting to do, then it is of no point working on particular policy. And who is paying for them? Who is paying? The government is paying. Then the money is going in vain. Na? So there is no point of imposing this type of policies. Coming to the next point, right, Tombe?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah.
Adamu
You're right.
Yusuf. Right. Okay. And
You're right.
Yusuf has a second part. That is their forefathers. This is a different issue altogether. See, they these people, the senior people, they belong to the vulnerable group. It is very critical for any personnel to handle this vulnerable group. They are like babies, you know. We all always treat a baby and an old person in the same level. So they are in a belief that my forefather was here, their forefathers were here, so I will leave this. I will have my last breath in this particular area. I will not leave my place. This is a different concept altogether. This is a psychological matter, and this has to be handled with care by the psychologists so that counseling of those people can be done in a proper way. They can be shown the reality of uh, that area when any disaster strikes. It can be created audiovisually, artificially in audiovisual with audiovisual effects, so that they can realize uh, uh, money, the the impact of the disaster, the magnitude, the ill effects which may harm their life. So even you can convince them in the way, until it comes to you, until the threat comes to you, you won't be taken away from this house. Till then, it is till the moment the disaster is not striking this particular person, means you can stay here. This is your house, this is your forefather's house, this is your forefather's land. You stay here, but we have made another arrangement for you. If you feel that water is coming to you, water may drown you, water may sway you out, you can, before that, before that fraction of a second when you feel that yes, my life is gone now, you just come out and we have special arrangement for you. You can go and uh, shift there and save your life. After everything is okay, after everything comes down, you can again come back. This way, you have to counsel them. Okay, so this is another part, and which is very important part because post-traumatic and stress disorder and even trauma is very important, and trauma needs to be counseled, and it takes time. Now, mitigation measures should protect natural arid cultural resources of the community. This, Tombi, you were just highlighting this point. In this case, actually, in the case which you shared, natural arid cultural resource of the community was not maintained. The government was doing something for a different motto. Okay, an effective mitigation program is based on partnerships involving the government, the private sector, and the community. This term is important. The government, along with the private sector, cannot do anything and everything. You have to involve the community, who is actually the part, who is the center of everything. You have to involve them. Now, disaster mitigation tools. What are the various disaster mitigation tools? Joan, can you read?
Yes, I can read.
Yes, please.
The adoption of appropriate mitigation tools require the assessment of certain key steps involved in the process. These include an understanding of nature of hazards the community or area is likely to face, an assessment of vulnerabilities of community, and an appropriate strategy that aims at saving lives, reducing property losses, but also lessens the consequences of disasters on economic activities and social institutions.
Yes, please wait for a second. Anybody needs any illustration on these points?
Mommy, did anyone see you? Did he hear you? Even the teacher hurry.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
Yes, yes,
I
Tom.
think I yes, I think this aspect here it is well. We have been going through them, and maybe from your side, what we may only request you also to elaborate more is about how best can an assessment be done when it comes to this disaster, and in particular, only the how can you set, let me say, questionnaires, because when you are going for an assessment, there are certain things that one has to have the tools, and then in the assessment, the categories, the categories of the people that you can interview. I think this is only some of the few things I am requesting you maybe perhaps to explain for us so that it will enlighten us more.
Definitely, I will explain it in my next slides. You will be getting all your answers, but I am talking about this particular 3 points. Do you want any illustration on this? And an understanding of nature of hazards the community of the area is likely to face. Whenever you are opting for any tool, you have to first identify what type of hazard the community is likely to face. Isn't that true? Whether it is earthquake, whether it is flood, drought,
Yeah,
famine,
it is
whatever,
true.
that you have to identify
Yeah, it is
first.
true.
And
it
secondly,
is true.
yes, second point, an assessment of the vulnerables up to what stretch that hazard is going to affect the community. This is the vulnerability part. That also you have to assess. And the third part is the appropriate strategy. Okay, these are the traits the community is going to have. So, against this trait, these will be the strategies which we can opt so that our uh, uh, we can incur minimum loss. This is the third point. Anything to elaborate on these 3 points that I want to know? No, no.
It's clear. We can move forward.
They are clear, madam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is clear, doctor.
Thank you. Now, John, the second part, mitigation tools does comprise of. Now, so what will be the mitigation tools? Say, John, read please.
Mitigation tools thus comprises of preservation and protection of natural resources that include watershed management, forest conservation, soil erosion control, wetland preservation, etc. Regulatory and administrative activities which cover adherence to building codes, bylaws, land use planning and control, etc.
1 minute, please, John. John, please,
Okay,
1 minute. Preservation and
right.
protection of natural resources that include watershed management, because the community ultimately, after everything is over, after the disaster of the calamity is over, the community, the people has to come back to their real life. Okay, no government is going to assist the or serve the community with relief for years. Okay, so it is for all these things are for the time being. Ultimately, community has to come back to their original place with their original livelihood. So, for the sake of the community, for the sake of their betterment of life, we have the policymakers have to include watershed management, forest conservation, soil erosion control, wetland preservation, etc. into considerations, so that, like for this drought area, we have to for opt for this forest conservation. We have to go for uh, yeah Afforestation. Watershed management can also, we can also opt this thing for drought management, because watershed management, if we do, it will increase the uh, groundwater level. So these are the things which we have to take into account for saving the community from any disaster. But this will act as a mitigation tool. And number two, this will be imposed using bylaws, land use planning, but I just described to you in the last session, and control, then building codes in seismic areas. These are the points which the regulatory bodies and the administrative bodies like the court, uh, the police, they can impose for the betterment of the uh, community, affected community. Next point, IEC.
Information, education, and communication activities aimed at developing an alert and educated community. Alternative to structures such as dams, buildings, flood walls, etc., to lessen the hazard impact.
Yes. Now this part.
Mitigation strategies with reference to specific disasters. Disaster mitigation strategies are the best and cost-effective methods of dealing with disasters over the long term. Incorporating disaster mitigation strategies in developmental planning activities enables the population in protecting against disasters. According to Carter, 1991, there are two approaches to mitigation. One, the structural approach. Two, the non-structural approach. In fact, non-structural measures complemented by structural measures are the effective means towards disaster mitigation.
Thank you. Now you see, disaster mitigation wise, what type of strategy is to be opted, why they should be opted. This is now clear. Now two approaches we all already have learned about. One is structural approach, means construction, and non-structural approach means IEC, means awareness, then early warning, forecasting, insurance, announcement through media, social media, etc. These are your non-structural approaches. Okay. Structural approach. Who is going to read?
Structure
Okay, John, you want to read? John's reading is good. Yes, you can continue, John.
Structural approach for mitigation may refer to both A. Engineered structures and non-engineered structures.
1 second, please.
Engineer-
What are John? Please, 1 second. What are engineered structures? Quickly, anybody? Anybody, please, quickly.
Yes,
Uh,
engineered
uh,
structures are those that are being done under the guide and supervision of engineers,
Hmm.
architecturals, and quantity surveyors.
Yes, good. And non-engineered structures are the just opposite one. Okay, by built by the layman, lay artisans. Okay. Yes. Now, Joan, please.
Engineered structures involve architects and engineers during the planning, designing, and construction of structures, including buildings, dams, embankments, roads, bridges, etc. Many countries have rules and laws providing codes for engineered construction. These codes provide guidelines for appropriate design and construction techniques in disaster-prone areas for specific disasters such as earthquakes and cyclones. Such structures can be constructed after collecting data for hazard vulnerability and related meteorological parameters, that is wind velocity, direction, rainfall, its duration, etc.
1 second, John, please. You remember when I was just uh, taking lecture on cyclone avalanche? I was telling you all when climate change. I was telling you what type of building we should be constructing in cyclone-prone areas. What are the structural measures we must be opting? I've detailed each and everything in my last classes. All of you remember those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And those who have forgotten, not an issue because I'll be sharing all these lectures, all these PPTs with you all. So today, after today's class, I will be sharing. So it will be a helpful thing for all of you. Yes. Next point, Joan.
Okay. Structure measures include construction of cyclone shelters, coastal embankments that help protect coastal land from that help protect coastal land from
From
inundation by tidal waves and storm surges, water harvesting facilities, etc. Non-engineered structures are generally constructed by people with the help of local artisans like masons, carpenters, etc. Usually using locally available raw material. These structures can be made safer if people are trained and given improved designs. These structures are normally of low cost but have less strength or resistance for a disaster.
Yes, so these are not recommended, okay? This type of structures are not recommended. Non-structural approach, you all know. Training, public awareness, legislation, policy making, preparation of action plans, etc. Okay, educating people, creating community awareness, and all. So, going to the next part, understanding sustainable development. Now, what is sustainable development? Anyone?
I think sustainable development should be in line with the sustainable development goals of the World Health Organization. Has to do with poverty eradication, education, health, food, water.
No, dear. Actually, sustainable
I
development.
think
Yes, yes, John, please say.
can I try?
Yes, please, sure.
I think sustainable development involves utilization of resources for
Yes.
development purposes, but in a way that will enable also the future generation to get access to the same resources. I don't know if I'm clear.
Um, it was okay, but
Like
not full. Yes, you want to
like
add?
you utilize resources today for development, but not in a depleting manner.
Sustainable development is basically in order to restore the natural thing of that particular area and upbuilding that area in a way so that it is replenished with the goodness and the ill effect of anything on that area is on that area does not affect the community hard. Simplest example I'm giving you.
Yes.
In
Yes, thank you, Ma.
an area which is very much prone to drought. Okay. What type of sustainable development you can do? If you, I remember I gave this example to Tombe also, but I think Tombe was not getting my point. Seeing into her facial expression, I could understand this. The thing is that and a particular area which is drought prone, very much drought prone, and it has been found that the entire area was shifted from that area to another place, or they have migrated from one area to another way in search of water. Now, the what we can do, see, moving from one place to another for any natural resource is not going to solve the problem for long, because where they are going, they are maximizing the population in that particular area. Instead, they we instead government can adopt policies so that the population which was actually residing in a particular area can come back and strive in that particular area. What policy they can develop? What policy they can adopt? They can adopt sustainable policies, sustainable development. So, in order to develop that, they will find the root cause of this migration. And they found that the root cause of this migration is water, availability of water. There is no availability of water, and scarcity of water has led people to migrate from this place, particular place, to some other place. So, what government will do? Government will adopt policy to replenish that particular area with underground water. Understood? How will they do? They will first find whether that particular area has water. How they can do? With the help of litholog, litholog uh, studies. You know what is a lithology, and what is lithology, and how can you do litholog study? See, this this part, only see this part, not this part. This part, this is a hole. This is a hole on the ground. You can see a hole on the ground. This is a hole. And this part, this entire part is under the ground. You cannot see this part. What is this? The soil, topsoil, and pebbles, cobbles,
Video is off.
red soil. Yes, Evaristo?
I was
No,
saying the
go ahead.
video
Go
video
ahead.
is off.
Before video is up, but now is visual. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is the hole, and this is the log part. This is the cross section. Now, cross sectional view of this soil will show you where the level of water is. Now, see, up till here there is no water. Can you see there is no water? Up till here it is empty.
Hello, Ma.
Huh?
The video is closed. The video is closed.
Video, how the video is closed? The video is very much open. You can't see
No,
me.
we are not seeing the example you are giving. We are not seeing it.
We are seeing. You minimize your
I'm
screen. You can
seeing.
see. We are seeing.
So, Yusuf, you are having problem. Please leave and rejoin. So this is the cross sectional view. Okay. Now Here is the water. If I only study the cross-sectional view from the sediment study, I can get, whoa, this is the wet part. So there is possibilities of water. I can derive into this conclusion. And up as of now, people were drawing water from this level. So it is full of air. It is full of air. They were not getting water. Even they would have, uh, if they are going down, farther down, again they are not finding water because the ground level has gone up till this level and people were drilling up till this level. So they were not getting water and they have come into conclusion that there is no water in that particular area. This groundwater has gone down, much down. Is that point clear? Or I need to
Yes,
explain
doctor.
again? It
Very
is
much
clear?
Yeah,
clear.
yeah,
Yes,
I got you.
yes.
It is
Clear.
clear, no? Hmm?
Yeah.
So a geologist, a hydrogeologist, one thing I must say, I'm a hydrogeologist. That's why I'm explaining you. Okay. So,
Wow.
so groundwater has come to this level. Okay. Now a hydrogeologist is going to study this litholog from the cross-sectional collection. Means when you are digging a well, na, you have to enter pipes, and once you are getting entering pipe, water under pressure is coming out through the vent of the pipe and we are getting water. Okay, so from that pipe only we can get the cross section of soil and studying it, if where the part where we will get it is wet a bit, we can come into conclusion that yes, you can get water from that area, from that particular level. So once that level is understood, government, we will be, our hydrogeologist will ask the government, okay, you make a percolation tank. What is a percolation tank? What is the meaning of word percolation? Percolation means pouring water. Pouring water. So if you are pouring water, water is percolating through that. You are pouring water, water is percolating through that. So you cannot do it individually now. It is not a one-man show. So you need water, means rainfall. You have to wait for the rainfall. You have, what you can do, you have to create a bed, percolation tank you have to construct, so that whenever rainfall is coming, water which is collected in that particular area, it it uh, it is soaked down and it is not circulated in the periphery. It is soaked down and then only if you give water from outside, this level will come up to this level. Understood? This is the simplest thing. We have to give water from outside and then only this level will come up to this level. And this can be done through recharge shafts, recharge pits, percolation tanks, and fully it will be rain fed. Now, uh, just take into this account that there is very scarcity of rain in that area. Then what will happen? Then we will see if there is any river or water body in the periphery, so that we can channelize water and drain water from that water body to these tanks. If there is no river, then what we will do? Then artificial recharging is the last and only thing left with us. Artificial recharging. Artificial recharging means we have to bring tankers and from outside and pour water into ground and rise the level. And this will be done throughout that area for continuous time, for consecutive 2 3 years, so that groundwater is replenished and aquifer comes out, the groundwater level comes up. Done. Understood.
Yes. Yeah. Me have I got it clear, but I think it is also too scientific now. But it is okay. We are getting the
It is
concept now.
it is scientific. Definitely, it is scientific. But the thing is that it is the easiest, most way I have tried to explain to you. And you gave me this example also. People from that particular area migrated from one area to other, and they are facing drought each time. So uh, government needs to adapt policies from for them also, na? Because migration also pose many problems that we have seen in COVID times as well. And I don't know who has covered your migration chapter. Had there been any session on migration, then you have learned about the pros and cons of migration as well. So, in order to avoid those things, we have to think and opt for sustainable development so that communities are benefited. It became too serious for all of you. All are sitting idle. It's not that
Yeah.
serious. You take a bottle in your hand and then you can understand. Are when it is half filled, what do we do? We fill it, na? We go to a filter and fill it, na? Adamu is feeling very sleepy. Almost his eyes are closed.
Yeah, we are getting you.
Okay, let us go to the next part. Um, Understanding sustainable development. Who is going to read this? I'll explain in between.
Should I read?
Yes, please, you can.
Env- Environment is best protected through development, and development in turn is dependent for sustenance on environmental protection strategies that could nip hazards in the bud. To elucidate, compliance with building standards and norms would save infrastructure and capital assets from destruction following earthquakes, fires, and floods. Land use planning involving siting of potentially hazardous facilities like ordnance and chemical factories can prevent possible catastrophes like fire outbreaks and chemical spills, which cause large-scale loss of life and property. Hence, there are policy decisional issues involved in environmental protection, ranging from technological and human resource planning measures to create specialized manpower for structure mitigation, strategies like earthquake-proofing, retrofitting of buildings, legislation, administrative improvement, and innovative application of strategies.
Right?
Excuse me, Doctor, was I audible?
Yes, very much. That's why I shifted to the next slide because there is nothing to illustrate. It is very easy.
Very much audible with this your special English.
Thank you.
Like she's
Okay.
reading very well. She's reading very well, and the poses she's giving, na, it is making all of us clear what is meant in the slides and what is written in the slides. She's going through very well. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you too. Ecological management, planning, environmental impact assessment, and building disaster resilient communities are the basics or components of disaster mitigation strategies. Some of the emerging trends currently emphasized in disaster mitigation are fostering a culture of prevention by creating awareness among people regarding disaster prevention requirements such as water harvesting, earthquake-proof buildings, incorporating conditionalities for the same in housing loans, insurance schemes, providing a long-term development.
John, 1 second, please. Now, this is a very important thing. In order to have disaster mitigation, what are the emerging trends? Now, government has come into action, okay, all over the world. Now, what they have done, they have opted some certain policies. Like, if you are constructing house in any earthquake-prone area, then government will only lend you loan, and you need to have house loan for that. Government will only lend you loan if you can show that you are making it an RCC construction with proper building codes, which is applicable in seismic prone areas. Okay, might be that government can even give you 2% or 3%, whatever it is, totally dependent upon the policy, extra benefit on the housing loan. These are the small things there, which government is uh, opting uh, as a measure of mitigation policy. Okay, next.
Providing a long-term development perspective to vulnerability reduction matters like managing risks in shanty settlements, controlling migration, etc. To treat the causes of problems over the long run rather than simply tackling the symptoms in the short run.
Because we have to do why is sustainable plan made, so that community in that particular area can sustain long. We should be whatever we are imposing, financial, technical, administrative, whatever we are doing, it has to be long term one, not a short term one, for the sake of the community. Yes, next.
Committing resources to structure mitigation measures like earthquake and flood-proofing of buildings, especially critical facilities such as hospitals, communication infrastructure, government offices, etc. Tackling impending urban crises as an urgent measure to create resilient cities. Developing a disaster management perspective in development programs in general with regard to rural and urban development.
But look, government will go at par with the community in the development structure as well. Now, environment impact assessment. What is
Environmental impact.
Yes, yes, yes.
I read? Should I read?
Just 1 second. Environment impact assessment. What is environment impact assessment, and why it is important? Any idea? Anybody? Anybody has any idea?
Environmental impact assessment. I think
Hmm.
An environmental impact assessment is done to predict the consequences of a development measure on the environment of an area.
Very good. There are three terms: see, environment, impact, and assessment. What is environment? The nature. Impact. Whatever,
I think
whatever.
the
Yes, say. Impact means whatever decision is going to be made in terms of structure, what impact, and not only structure, it may be a, non-structural issue altogether. So, what impact it is creating on the environment.
The
Okay,
environment.
that is the impact
Yes.
part. Yeah. And the third is assessment, means assessing all these things coming is regarded as assessment part. So there are three individual words: environment, impact, and assessment. And if you explain these three, you can get the answer. It is basically it is a scientific study to predict the environmental consequences of a development structure. Like there is a river. Okay. Now if you want to construct a dam on that river, that is a development plan, construction of a dam. Now
Yes.
Before you execute this development plan, you have to study the EIA, means environment impact assessment. What are the effects this is going to execute on the environment? A dam has two areas. One is the upper part and the lower part. If you are when you are looking into the upper part, you have to take the lower part also into consideration. How it is going to devastate when the water level rises up first. How it is going to affect the livelihood of the people, local people. How it is going to affect the pasture land in and around the area, how it is going to affect the agriculture of that particular area on the either bank of the river, and what মানে, and even not only agriculture, pasturing, fisheries also in the catchment area, how it is going to affect. How many houses are will be destroyed once you pass on this development structure? So these are all the things which are actually affecting the uh, which which are the different consequences you have to take into account while passing this plan of construction of a dam on a particular riverside. So these are these together comprises of this environmental impact assessment. Okay, now you please read.
Now, excuse me, doctor.
Yes, please.
Maybe before I continue reading, I
Yes.
just want to get clarification
Mm.
if sometimes the cost is also considered sometimes cost is considered over the impact of a development idea, because I have a case here in Kampala. There was need to reduce on the traffic in the city. So there was a proposal to construct a road which we call Northern Bypass.
Okay.
It passes the northern side of the city.
Hmm.
But where the road was supposed to be constructed, there were settlements and other buildings which are commercial. and of which it required compensation, and it would sum to huge amounts of money. So what was done was to resort to the swampy part of the place, because our capital city is made up of 7 hills, and we know after a hill we have a swamp. So likewise we have a number of swamps in the capital city. So the road the plan was changed, and the road is constructed in a swampy place. But though the road is raised, but during rainy season, it floods to the neighborhood, and you see people's houses flooding. So my question is it that sometimes the idea of cost is compared to the idea of the impact, the environmental impact?
It should not, because you see, when a community is affecting because of this construction of this road, then it is a human induced matter. Prior to that, there was no history of flood over there in that particular region. Why flooding started? Because of the construction of that particular road.
Yes.
And that road was constructed just to minimize the cost. This project was passed so that it would have incurred minimum cost. But they have not undergone EIA, Environment Impact Assessment. Whenever that is why it is very important. See, when every time it is flooding, so many people are affected, and being a state personnel, the government has to provide relief to them. This is not incurring money. If you add on to that, it is going much higher than the project cost, which was initially made when this the when it was thought to construct the road, uh, excluding the swamp area. But they didn't do this cost analysis, which is very important part. Neither they have done environmental impact assessment, nor they have done cost analysis part in that perspective also, because they have not taken this thing flooding into account while implementing this thing. Yes, Evaristo?
I also wanted to give an example of an impact assessment
Yes.
that was carried out here in Zambia. We have a game park, a national game park, where we keep a number of animals just near the Victoria Falls. If you've been to Zambia, if you've read something about Zambia, we have a park there, and now minerals were discovered in the park, which has a number of animals, elephants, giraffes, all the good animals, and people when they come to the falls, they end up in the park. So an EIA was done, and the results of the EIA were that it will have grave impact on the flora and fauna, including the water in the Zambezi River. So also the community around there. So according to the EIA, this mining activity should not take place in the park. So the EIA didn't recommend the mining activity to take place in the park. But the government side was adamant about the recommendations from the environmental impact assessment, and wanted the mining to continue, looking at youth unemployment and all those are things they were giving, including some of the local people, including some chiefs. They wanted the mining activities to continue because it's going to generate quite huge numbers of employment for the youths who were unemployed. But the mining activities up to now have not taken place because environmental activists and civil society organizations, including some international organizations, UN agencies like UNESCO said they will declassify the Victoria Falls as one of the wonders of the world if this goes on. And so it's been left like that. So the mining hasn't taken place. So environmental impact assessments are very good and are important in this regard. Thank you.
And it is a mandate as well.
Yes, it's a mandate that for any big, even here in Zambia, for any big, any huge project that you undertake, there must be an AIA. So this is a requirement. So for a mine of the proportion that was to be done, that was mandatory.
Thank you for this example, Ernesto. Now, Joan, you may continue, please. And where have you been, George, the entire day? You're traveling.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, good to see you. Okay, Joan, please.
Environmental impact assessment. Environment impact assessment is a relatively new planning and decision-making tool first enshrined in the United States in the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. The phrase environmental impact assessment comes from Section 102
Under Section 2.
Under Section 2 of the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA 1969, USA. Environment impact assessment is defined as a scientific study to predict the environmental consequences of a development measure. It involves specialties which deal with different dimensions of the appraisal, for example, impact on health, on biodiversity, consequences of displacement, etc. Environment impact assessment is attempted to identify the environment and social impacts of a project prior to decision making.
Yeah. So, what are the key
Key
elements of?
element.
Say.
I continue.
Yes.
The key elements of environmental impact assessment are A. Scoping, identifying key issues and interests of interested parties. B. Screening, deciding whether an environmental impact assessment is required based on information collected.
Achha, one
C.
second, please. One second, please, Joan. 1 second, please.
Yes. Okay.
First point, identifying key issues and interests of interested parties. Remember, someone of you, I think Tombe gave me that example uh, uh, of that were interested of parties. Which one? I just forgot. Grazing part or
It is
that
it is a
that
good
one
area.
no, channelizing that area. You remember?
Yes.
Because the
Yes.
show area channelizing would have benefited that particular community, but instead of that, government has opted for entire shift of this area, which would be very much cost, which, which would incur huge cost. At the same time, community is not allied with this policy. They are not willing to opt this policy. You remember this thing? This was given by Tombe. This was discussed by Tombe. So
Yes.
scoping is the first element. You have to identify the factors which are affecting the community, and how best way you can serve the community in that place only. If there are no pros and cons, involve your community, and along with them, if you come to a conclusion that there are no point of exist of continuing in this particular area, then only you think of any shift, or you think of imposing some or implementing some project for sustainable project for the benefit of that area. Else you cannot do this. So scoping is one of the important part. Now clear, all of you?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yes.
interests of interested parties is to be taken into consideration. Here, interested parties are the government. In the example of uh, uh, Tombe, interested parties who wanted to do this thing, the government. But key, and I highlighted you the key issues. The key issues was just money making, one thing. Secondly is to let people know, see, government is thinking about you people. They have spent so much of money, they have shifted you, but you people are not willing to go. It means creating a negative impact for getting election. That is another thing. That is an important thing. So you this has to be identified. The who is interested and why he is interested. Why the party is interested. Whether for the goodness of the community or for other interest. Now screening, deciding whether an EIA is required based on information collected. See, in the example which Joan shared for the road construction, EIA was necessary, isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
Had there been any EIA, then this swamp, construction of road on swamp, they would have not passed this policy, because prior to that there was no incidence of flood. But since they have not done EIA, and without doing this, without taking any basic information of the particular area, what could what pros and cons will generate because of this type of construction, they have not calculated this, and they have executed the plan, and this has resulted in this. So screening, before executing anything, screening is a very important part. Then the third part is, Joan, some point.
Identifying,
Hmm.
identifying and evaluating alternatives. Listing alternative sites and techniques and the impacts of each.
Yes, they would have, in this case of road development of example which Joan gave, they would have opted 2 3 way out. Okay, this is cost effective. Let us go for another way, which will be money- which will be cost effective. This is incurring more cost. Okay, go for this one, and then you do EIA for both the proposals, which is going to help, which is not going to affect the community, or rather, you can ask us this way, which is going to help the community. So ultimately, you have to do EIA. Then, adopting mitigation measures. Now, here in this case
Adopting
of farm,
mitigation.
in this case of road, mitigation measures they could have adopted. Okay, this if I construct the road on the swamps, it may flood. See, they have done EIA, and they have found that constructing a road on the swamps would result in flooding. They have come to this conclusion. Say, suppose they have done this. Then they have to adopt some mitigation measures so that the construction is also done and the community is also saved. Something they have to do, na? And that too, within a cost, both these things will be both the cost of both these projects will be less than the cost of that individual project which they have cancelled because of uh, huge money involvement. Yes or no?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, it is
Yes.
very clear.
Hmm. So adopting mitigation measures then.
Adopting mitigation measures, dealing with uncertainty, review, propose the action to prevent or minimize the impact of the disaster.
Hmm. Now, Evaristo, please go through. Joan has gone through many slides. Thank you so much, Joan. It was very nice.
You're welcome.
Reading was very nice.
Thank you, Doctor.
Evaristo,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Evaristo, please go through this policy area. Very important part.
Okay. Disaster mitigation entails a series of both short-term and long-term policies to curb the immediate threat of disasters from existing hazards, structural and positional vulnerabilities, and enhancing capacity resilience of communities to withstand threats, face eventualities with minimum damage.
Yeah.
The following issues engage decision makers in the context of short-term and long-term measures required for disaster mitigation. Creating social capital within communities through institutionalization of cooperative effort through neighborhood communities, by involving them more closely in matters of daily governance, soliciting opinions, inviting complaints, and factoring the same in decision making. Imparting voice to communities through right to information and political communication regarding government initiatives underway for the betterment of people remain largely unaware of government schemes for their betterment.
One thing, please wait for a second. Now, this is a very important point. One is that creating social capital within communities through institutionalization of cooperative effort. This is where you have to involve your community so that ownership is maintained. Okay, if you give cooked food to someone, he or she will taste, have it, say, and leave the dish unfinished, or just appreciate it and then forget. But if you involve him or her making that dish, then her his or her ownership is also built. So in case you are making something for the community, you have to be very much uh, you have to involve each and every member of the community. uh, their plans, you have to incorporate their contribution in every matter, whether it is through labor, whether it is finance, whether it is through their decision making, uh, whether through what uh, whether through exchanging their thoughts. So you have to involve, one has to involve community for any development program so that ownership is built. They will and if you involve the community, no, they will just see, it is our thing, for our benefit, so we will save this. Okay, so this feeling is generated, number one. Number two, creation is very much required, because if you don't create voice in the community, if the community is just like dumb, like puppets, they are standstill, and policymakers are taking their own decision and implementing. This is not going to help the communities. Like the example I'm taking again into consideration, the Tom, what Tombe gave in that shoot area. Why did community was against the policymakers? Because first of all, policymakers didn't take community into consideration while developing this plan. Firstly, secondly, had they taken this the community into consideration, community would have never given this idea of shifting from one place to another. Instead, they would have given this idea to channelize the riverbed, and we will be benefited, and it will be less. Uh, it will enter less cost. So they have policymakers instead they have not taken community members into consideration. This is one thing, and that is the way. That is why, but they have not allowed community to raise their voice in the action policymakers are going to impose. So so they revolted basically. The community members they revolted. Okay.
A question, maybe just an explanation on the structure and position of vulnerabilities. What
Yes.
really do you mean?
I didn't get your point. I didn't get your point, please.
I was saying on the previous slide, you are mentioning structural and positional vulnerabilities. Just needed a quick explanation on those two. The first point, we are saying disaster mitigation entails a series of both short-term and long-term policies to curb immediate threats of disaster from
Huh.
existing hazards.
Huh.
Now,
Yes.
this
Huh.
is where now you say structural and positional vulnerabilities.
Structural and positional vulnerabilities is that structural vulnerabilities we find in case of earthquake and all this collapsing of buildings, and positional vulnerabilities is that liquefaction of land on the river banks during flood. So or landslides or mm, or your snowfall sorry stone slides. These are all positional vulnerabilities. Vulnerability is a trait
Understood.
basically.
Yeah.
Actually, Evaristo,
So
you missed
C
some
part,
classes. You missed 1 2 classes. That's why you are just not getting those things. Otherwise, these were all illustrated in your previous sessions. Anyways, not an issue. See.
I'll get back to the slides when I'll be up to date. Providing
Yes.
for personnel, ensuring required technical input through education and training, etc., to create the know-how for structural and unstructural risk reduction, developing syllabus for civil engineering in technical institutions with a view to creating expertise for disaster proofing,
1 second.
retrofitting.
1 second,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Tombe, yeah, in on my Friday's session, you gave me this example that school children, primary school children, in the syllabus of primary and secondary school children, they have incorporated many things related to disaster management. You remember? Where is Tombe?
Yes, yes, I
Yes.
remember.
Huh. So this is this point, developing syllabus, because actually who who decides whether the school children, whether the college children, engineering students, medical students will be learning all these things? The board members, the authorities who are the controlling authorities. Okay. So developing syllabus for civil engineers, so that they, whenever, suppose you are a civil engineer and you are working in a earthquake prone area. You saw a structure, or any client came to you, sir, I want to make my home. I want to construct my home. Please design a good home for me. What will you say? Yes, you'll add certain components, and the party will say, sir, what are these? You will say these are a mandate because your house We are uh, we are here in a seismic prone area. So your house, I have to construct your house in the seismic prone areas, and constructing a house in a seismic prone area must have these components into consideration. And the party might say, no, no, no. Once often we get these disasters. I have heard about a massive earthquake uh, last 50 years back. It is not going to strike us. I cannot incur so much of money for this earthquake if at all it happens. Then the engineer will say, no, if you want to get the plan passed, and that too through me, I will incorporate these things. So this say has to come from the engineers, from the civil engineers, from the architects who are working in this areas. So unless or until you teach the engineers in the way, uh, they won't come up with all these points. So it is our moral duty to not only to reframe the syllabus of school children, because we learn from our children when they come home and discuss. Teachers told us this and that. We will be following this manner. We will be following that manner. Table manners, whatever, hanky manners, washing, then whatever things are taught in the school, they come and discuss in the family, and we also appreciate that. So in the same way, mm, like the school children's we have to like the school children we have to educate our professionals as well, and for that reason we have to change their syllabus uh, in that way, providing a disaster perspective to education in general at the primary and secondary levels, and in specialized specialties later, such as management, law, social sciences, medical sciences, art sciences, etc. Mainly, what I wanted to focus through this, we have to uh, we have to strengthen the education pattern uh, so that people are much more aware of what is going on in and around. I am so happy to have this class because you people are much more aware of what is going on in the surrounding. I don't know, might be because of your professions, or you are attached where you are dealing with this type of problems every time. This might be the reason, but in general, people in India, uh, even those who have uh, studied disaster management here, in my peer group also, I have not found uh, these people, my friends, so conscious uh, about every aspects of disaster management. So this actually, uh, this is a negative part, which where you people are much ahead of us. And you are very much aware. Very good to learn. Yeah, Everest
Thank
too.
you.
Uh,
Thank
6 point.
Doctor.
Thank you, thank you. 6 point.
Everest, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Everest to 6 point.
Okay, so I was saying developing syllabus for civil engineering in technical institutions with a view to creating expertise for disaster proofing, retrofitting of infrastructure, and reducing physical vulnerability to earthquakes. E, providing a disaster perspective to education in general at the primary and secondary level, and in specialties later, such as management, law, social sciences, medical sciences, and ethics sciences, etc. mandating and conducting training in disaster management for the civil servants, gazetted and non-gazetted officers to increase the level of risk perception, that's awareness in them, and imparting know-how to better tackle disaster situations. Training of local volunteers, especially among the at-risk communities for better disaster response. Organizing self-help effort on the part of people through catalytic state action to build social capital in rural areas. Training of local craftsmen such as stone masons for more resilient indigenous infrastructure.
So these are very easy points. I don't think I need to explain. Shall I move to the next slide?
Yeah, next slide, there is.
Epidemiological surveillance. Why it is important?
Okay.
You say why it is important. Anyone?
Epidemiological surveillance is very important to know the types of diseases that pose threats to the people of that environment. Those those conditions that can lead to diseases that can become a pandemic or endemic in the community.
Pandemic, endemic, or epidemic, right? There are
Yes,
three types
pandemic
of
or
it.
yes, or endemic.
Hmm.
Because if this epidemiological surveillance like issue of environmental hygiene and personal hygiene is a vulnerable factor that will lead to cholera to become endemic in a certain society or environment. And if it can kill people in tens or hundreds, it becomes a disaster if the
Yes.
community cannot contain it.
So we need to train them also, make them aware also, right? Now, Evanescu,
Yes.
you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. My brother Damo explained it, in a more broad perspective of health,
Mhm.
and let me say in a layman's uh, expert view, is that this epidemiological surveillance, it's like an study to see the extent of occurrence of, let me say, any hazard that can occur as a result of a disaster. I think considering the epidemic and endemic aspect of it.
No, no. There are two things. Please try to understand that. One thing, epidemic can occur as a result of disaster. Another thing, epidemic can spread without any disaster. Like COVID spread without any disaster, and it took a shape of disaster. And in case of floods, we often find epidemics like waterborne diseases, vector-borne diseases. So both both surveillance we have to carry out. Okay, it is not that because of disaster only you will find these epidemic diseases. No, it's not like that.
Okay, it's fine. We got it now clear.
I would say that epidemiological surveillance is very important to a country because it could be at the heart of a secure public health security.
Yeah.
And it's out of the epidemiological surveillance that we are able to have early warning for specific or certain outbreaks of diseases. Even when you have, say, flooding, it could be an indication that we need to be on alert, a high alert for specific outbreaks like cholera, dysentery, and many
Plague.
others.
Yes.
Yeah, plague. Yeah. So all such. So surveillance in terms of disease surveillance is very important.
Okay, now please go through this.
Okay, so epidemiological surveillance is one of the important disaster mitigation strategies. Disasters, both natural and human-made, result in outbreaks of several diseases. The National Surveillance Program for Communicable Diseases was launched in India with a view of strengthening the disease surveillance system so that early warning signals to outbreaks are recognized and appropriate follow-up action is initiated. The program is being implemented through existing health infrastructure and surveillance system involving training of medical and paramedical personnel, upgradation of laboratories, and improvement in communication system. The program includes information, education, and communication activities to promote community participation in the prevention and control of outbreaks.
Now, last.
Surveillance on this. Okay.
1 second. These are the important points, but actually, when we are talking about Africa, we are having the same thing in Africa as well. Surveillance and Disease Intelligence Program running through CDC, okay, Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Africa, to detect and respond quickly and effectively to disease threats and outbreaks. And they are also doing the same thing, training medical and paramedical personnel, upgrading the laboratories, improving communication system. Improving communication system means giving information to the community and taking information from the community. This is done through communications only, counseling, telecounseling, and all these things. Okay. The program includes awareness, means IEC, generating awareness and promote community community participation in the prevention and control of outbreaks. All these 3 points are very most important. It's very important, and when we talk about epidemiological surveillance, and in care when we are talking about Africa, CDC is taking care of this thing. Next, going to the uh, this part. It is a teamwork
Disaster
basically,
mitigation
mitigation and teamwork.
teamwork.
Yes. George, you read.
Yes. Thank
You
you.
read.
Sorry, I was at a place where there was no network. Apologies. Disaster mitigation and
You
teamwork.
don't want to read?
Yeah. I can read.
Yes. Yes,
Can
please.
you hear me?
Yes, we all can
Loud
hear
and
you.
clear.
Can you hear me, Doctor?
George, your network, you have a network problem. George, we are not hearing
It's
you
not a
very well.
network problem. He was by the roadside.
Yeah, I think that's why. Then somebody take up.
I can read.
Okay. Yeah, please.
You have been reading Juan. Let me try.
Okay, yeah.
Disaster mitigation and teamwork.
Okay.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's another lady who wants to read. Maybe you give another lady.
Yeah, we are
Okay.
having, we never heard of her. Adamo,
Wow. So we have two ladies.
let her read. Yeah, let her
Please.
read so that we hear
It's
her
my
voice.
privilege to allow her read. Go on, sister.
Okay. Disaster management and teamwork. Point number 1, a disaster mitigation team is a group of people who work together to manage disasters. The team intends to work towards achievement of mitigation policies. Characteristics of effective team. Number 1,
This is important.
appropriate
Yeah.
leadership and confidence in its leadership. Second point, a clear and shared understanding of its objectives and the realization that achievement of the objectives is measurable.
Point number 3, high but realistic and achievable goals. Number 4, concern for the welfare and growth of team members.
No, 1 second,
5,
please. Wait. 1 second,
okay.
please. Dear, wait 1 second. Do you agree with all these things, all these points? Because my last chapter is just reverse of this. Do you agree with all these points? Well, this
Yes,
should be the
I do.
aptitude of the team, right?
Yes, we agree, doctor.
Okay. Okay, dear, you carry on.
Okay. Point number 5, organization of the team in a manner consistent with the goals and the roles clearly defined and assigned to team members. Then 6, use of knowledge and skills of all team members. Number 7, abilities of the team members to accomplish the objectives. Then we have point number 8, appropriate and decision-making procedures. I hope I'm not too fast.
No, you're not fast and you're reading very well.
All right. Then point number 9, use of problem-solving techniques. Number 10, open communication. Then we have 11.
Open communication is there won't be any hidden thing. Community must be aware of each and every step what the policymakers or what the relievers are providing them. They must be aware of everything. There will be open communication between the receivers and the providers. Okay, then willingness
of members to compromise. Then we have 12, adherence to time schedule. 13, regular evaluation of results.
Okay, thank you so much. The willingness of the members to compromise. You are working as a volunteer, and by after working for 10 hours, you just thought, I am giving so much of labor, let me quit. Others are not doing this. Why I am involved in so much of work? This type of mentality won't be working in teamwork. Okay, so when you are in the team, you have to participate in full. Adherence to time schedule. You have to be very punctual. You have to do this within time limit. Do everything within time limit. Regular evaluation of results. What you are doing and what is the result. If it is good, you have to encounter. If it is bad, that also you have to take into consideration so that no repetition of that particular step is carried and again another fault is generated. Okay. Each and every team member must be skilled enough to carry out the job they are given to. They must have that skill and knowledge. And they must be aware of all the team members. You must know each other. That is also important. Good resilience, good understanding between the team members, and everything they will do for the greater benefit of the society. Now comes this point: conflict. Who was discussing about conflict in the earlier part of the session? I think Yusuf.
Yes, it's me.
Yes. Now coming to your part, conflict. Who will
Okay.
read this,
I should read.
please?
Yes, because I'm the one who brought the point.
Yeah. Conflict resolution in the context of disaster mitigation.
This is very important thing. Each and every point are very important. Please go through.
Okay. Management of disasters being it in the context of preparedness, mitigation relief, rehabilitations, reconstructions is a complex activity. It involves not just mobilization of personnel, finance, and other resources, but handling the human relationship, interpersonal behavior, and so on.
It
With
is
the
very
involvement,
important. Yes, sir.
okay, with involvement of number of organizations and different categories of personnel in a crisis situation, there can be duplication of effort and lack of responsibilities demonstrated by any segment of the group.
1 second, please.
Also,
Now, 1 second, please. Let me illustrate this point. See, police is there, army is there, NGOs are there. All are here to all are here for evacuation. Suppose, for example, now armies, since they are more skilled, they are more effective in evacuation work. NGOs are fighting with the NGO people. They started fighting with the army personnel. We have come first. We will serve them. We will do this evacuation work, not you. Army is told it is our duty. So we have been given order from the central government. We have to work on evacuation. You may go and serve other part. So they started. Uh, this has resulted in uh, quarrel between these two groups, NGOs and army. Police, as of now, he was just enjoying this matter, and he then came. He can play two roles. What are the two roles he can play? He can either lit fire to the armies or to the NGOs. Okay, keep on fighting. We will do this task and escape. Either police can do this, or police can do what? They make these two parties calm down and say some area will be covered up by army personnel, some area will be covered up by NGO personnel, and some area will be taken care by us. So there won't be any fighting between three agencies, and every work will go on in a smooth way. This is the other thought which police can provide.
Conflict management.
In case of conflict, this is basically conflict management. So this is a very common factor which we find in any case, in any crisis, whenever any crisis occurs. It is uh, always the duty of uh, the team, whoever are acting here, NGO, army, police, they are also part of the team. They must see, because community are the most heat person. They are most affected person. They don't know how to react to this, and they just want relief from the situation they are trapped into. So here, for the sake of the community, it is always encouraged for the third party to come and play a vital role so that the conflict comes to end, and or even he can do like this. Okay, let's see who can do it much more efficiently, army or ye. They can just initiate competition. We'll come to this point also. Yes, you read this, Yusuf, with the involvement of a number of organizations.
yes, I have read that one. With involvement of a number of organizations and different categories of personnel in a crisis situation, there can be duplication of effort and the lack of responsibility demonstrated by any segment of the group. Also, it is the community as the receiver of services which is hard hit by the tragedy. Community member being in shock and trauma are usually placed in fragile situation. The relationship between them and the disaster organization is also important. This situation can at times result in tension and conflicts. This need to be properly resolved.
So how can you resolve them?
Okay, conflict diffusion strategies, goals, congruencies, goal congruence. The conflicts can be diffused by appealing to the common goal that is acceptable to all and cannot be accomplished by any single party or individual.
Yes, wait, please wait. The goal is the example which I shared with you just this moment. The goal was to evacuate the trapped person, trapped victims, right? This was the goal. So, in order
Okay.
to achieve that goal, what they can do, the conflict can be diffused by appealing to the common goal. The police can say, see, here we have not come to fight against each other. We have come to do something. We have to evacuate this person. So, please don't do that like this. Uh, Separate yourself. You do your work. You better you do one thing. You go to that area. Nobody will come and interrupt in your work. They will say the same to the NGO personnel also. You tackle this area, and we will be tackling this area. So they will divide the entire area into three parts so that no one interferes in their in each other's area, and the goal is achieved properly. Then smoothening.
Smoothening means decrease the intensity of conflicts.
How it can be done? By compromising. The police came here in my example. He said, "Okay, much fighting has gone. Now calm down. Let us concentrate in our work and let us help the victims. Everything is okay now. No more fighting is encouraged. Please go back to your work and let us tackle the situation." This is called smoothing. Okay. Now third,
Okay, conflict containment strategies. These involve liaison group, representative structures, is, intro, interactions,
structuring the interaction.
yes, interactions, bargaining, compromising, and encouraging competition.
Encouraging competition, I just told you. Okay, the police may say, client, okay, let's see who does this work better, who
Okay.
who delivers this work better. This is competition. Bargaining, please, please, I beg to both of you, don't fight. Don't fight. Do your work. Let us divide the area into three parts, and nobody is going to in interfere in your area. You you do this work and get this thing done. This is bargaining and compromising. Okay, liasoning. Oh, okay. Mm, acha. What is the reason behind this fight? Trauma, evacuation. You are saying that NGO people are saying we do it better than army people. Okay, uh, let us call the third party who will be listening behind this between these two. Who can be the third party? Administrative, any administrative officer or the commandant who is looking into this thing. They can come and take a decision uh, that whether the army will continue with the evacuation work or we will jump into the relief part. And only NGO people and police will be working for evacuation. This is listening thing. Structuring the interaction. And, okay, listening to both army and NGO, they come into a conclusion and uh, giving a separate inference into the conflict. That is structuring and interaction. So I'm done with all this uh, units which was allotted to me. Uh, any question you have, you may feel free to ask me.
Yeah, from my side, I just wanted to give a special thanks to you
Okay,
and the colleagues,
yeah,
and I really appreciated the lecture of today because it was really interactive. Almost most of us, let me say 80%, participated, and I really want to give thanks also to my colleagues. We need to keep the spirit so that
yeah.
we actually learn. When we share things together like this, it will make us to understand better. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, me too. From my side, it was so well interactive and it was so sweet the lecture of today because we have heard from some of our colleagues from different parts of of the nation. They brought some problem and we were solved it here and we hear from them and they too they hear from us. So it was well interactive. So we need them to please continue uh, attending the lecture so that we can have a good understanding of what you are saying. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe Jay, it was clear to all of you. Yes, Adamu, you want to add?
Yeah, the fact that I have been epileptic in this class today, but actually it was very interesting and fantastic class. And I will not deny the fact that whenever you are counseling, I naturally feel inspired to talk and also to contribute because whenever you are discussing, you used to take it to a similar level that even a layman can understand what you are trying to say, and more especially when you try to practically demonstrate, that used to stick in our memory. You have done a huge and fantastic job by guiding us through this way. We really appreciate that one. Thank you for giving us
Thank you
opportunity
so much,
to give
Adamu.
out the best of us.
Thank you so much, Adamu. It was even my pleasure to get all of you as learners because you people are really, really fantastic because you are aware of what you are undergoing, what you are learning, and that actually inspired me to work so intensively on my sessions, on my presentations, and interaction actually happened because of this. Because you are also experienced, you are sharing your thoughts. All of you are sharing your thoughts, and that this also helped me to explain better to your queries. May I please request all of you to keep your videos on so that I can have a click because today is my last session with all of you unless more sessions are allotted. I will be assessing your assignments. So please give your assignment very well. I will share all these presentations with you. I will be sharing this to Smriti ma'am and she will mail you all. So you will get. Thank you. I'll just have one click with all of you.
It is night.
Joan, entire session you were on and now you're off. Okay, I can see you. Evaristo, I can see you.
I have an informal request.
Okay.
Yes,
Mansa,
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.
thank
ma
you.
before you
Thank
leave.
you.
Hello, ma.
Yes,
I
yes,
have
Thank
an
you very
informal
much.
request before you leave.
yes, yes, please say.
Ma,
Yes,
ma, ma,
Adamo, we
my,
hear.
my first lady says she want to say hi to you. She have been hearing your voice. She said she want to greet you.
I want to see her. I want to see her.
Hi, ma.
Hi.
Fine. How are you too?
I can't see you, dear.
Good evening,
I don't
ma'am.
know.
Good evening.
Good evening, dear. But I can't see you,
How are
dear.
you?
Your camera is off.
What about now?
No, can't see you.
But we can see her.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, with dear.
How are you?
I'm fine, dear. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear. I'll keep this in my memory. I had a wonderful time with all of you. So it was really nice for me to interact with all of you. And we will keep in touch with each other. Okay, I have shared my phone number with you. So whenever you feel like you can contact me, you can call me, you can WhatsApp me. So we'll be in touch. And I would like to love to do something if I can contribute anyway for the development of your country. So you may please anytime you can contact me for that also.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you
ma.
so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Namaskar.
ma'am. Thank you.
Bye. Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Bye bye. Good night. Bye.